it's Holly, and this is Wild Blessings Teaching Tuesday. Today we'll be talking about sowing seeds. So we've been talking for 2 weeks now on how the mystery and the magic is in the seed, the life is in the seed, and they're so fascinating. There's a scripture that I love. It says, "I will give you the treasures of darkness and hidden wealth in secret places, in order that you may know that it is I, the Lord, who calls you by your name." So anyone that can make the intricacies of all of these amazing seeds and what they turn into is someone that's worth putting your trust into. So welcome if you've joined me. I am so happy. I can't see you, but give me some hearts and I can kind of get an idea who's here. But we've got so many fun things to plant. We're going to be talking about what I found in nature just this week, because spring has sprung. Actually, it's springing up here in the high country. I went down to visit to pick up my son Jordan. He came into the Charlotte airport a couple days ago, and I was floored as I went off the mountain down to Hickory. The forsythia was in full bloom, the fruit trees were blooming, and I went further down into Charlotte, and the dandelions were everywhere, and I'm like, this is exciting. It was just so fun. So we even saw some kudzu, which hasn't started blooming yet, but it's just fascinating to me. It's a destination, but it's not a plant I would ever want in my yard. I can't wait to talk about that plant because it has over 100 uses, which is nice because it's taken over the world. I think they call kudzu the plant that ate the South. All right, so as you can see, there's all kinds of amazing things that are on my mountain at 3,500 feet. So that's what I talk about. And I hope if you live in a different time zone, I know you have the same plants. You just need to go back or go forward and see what, I don't know, it all depends on where you live. You can always text me or talk on our Wild Blessings site as well. All right, so we always have tea time first, and so I haven't had a chance to make my tea yet, and I'm about to. So this is Lemonbalm, and Lemonbalm Melissa officinalis. The reason why it says officinalis in the species name is because it was an official medicine in the pharmacopoeia of all of history. And so it has amazing gifts. But what I love the most about Lemonbalm is that it has such a springy, sunny, lemony flavor, and it's so good for depression. So if that's something you struggle with, then I would definitely get some Lemonbalm in your garden. It takes over, so it's really kind of a fun plant to have because it is just so invasive and so wonderful. So I have dried this from last season, and I'm going to put some into my French press. I think my husband gave up making coffee in this one so that I could have it just for my plants. And then, Jason, could you put some water, some hot water in here and get it steeping for me? Speaking of spring, we've been talking about the seed. The life is in the seed, the embryo, the endosperm, but the seed coat needs a lot of soaking in order to open. So today we'll be discussing sowing seeds, and I want to share some quotes with you that I absolutely love. One of my favorites from Thoreau, Henry David Thoreau, is, let me read it so I don't get it wrong. He says, though I do not believe that a plant will spring up where no seed has been, I have great faith in a seed. Convince me that you have a seed there, and I am prepared to expect wonders. And then Robert Louis Stevenson said, don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you sow. And Audrey Hepburn said, to plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow. And then even the greatest creations start from small seeds. And then Jesus said, the kingdom of God is like a man who casts seed upon the soil, and he goes to bed at night and gets up by day, and the seed sprouts and grows. How? He does not know. The soil produces crops by itself, first the blade, and then the head, and then the mature grain in the head.
Now, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Because Max needed just to say hi.
Oh, okay.
He does have to go, but he wanted to say hi to everybody.
Yeah, he gets kind of gruffy and he makes
well,
noise.
Yeah, and so there's lots of things going on outside, see?
Yeah,
and
there's squirrels and chipmunks. Okay, so,
all right, so he's
bye, Max. He was so excited when Jordan came home. It was so exciting. All right. Today we'll talk about sowing seeds, since we talked about identifying them and seeing them. And remember, we don't really care if you know what a seed is. We just care that you observe it. And we don't care whether you know what the tree is. We just care that you see it. And so it's all about observation and really paying attention. And so that goes back to our hiking habits. And so I certainly hope that you guys are hiking around and keeping the same path so that you can look and see spring evolve and unfurl in front of your eyes. It's just so astonishing to do that and so rejuvenating. I have some announcements to make before we talk about how we're going to sow seeds today. But next March 30th, next Tuesday, is going to be kind of a special class where I share a story that's very precious to me and very close to my heart, and it has everything to do with this tree right here. So I've just briefly showed this to you in the past, and this is just really has a meaningful story to me. So I'll share that. And then Good Friday, I'm going to be sharing on the oils and plants used in the life of Jesus Christ, the Anointed One, the Messiah. So that'll be a good prep for Easter, and it's probably one of my favorite talks I've ever given. I've given it at churches and at the library, and I don't want you to miss it. So please come for that, and I will give you the link in my Wild Blessings Facebook group. And then on Sunday, Easter Sunday, The Chosen, I cannot say enough about that TV show. It's a TV show of the life of Christ and his disciples, and it's instead of just 3 minutes on the healing of the leper or whatever, it'll be an entire hour and give you an amazing, plausible backstories of each of the disciples and who they were before Christ called them and how they were transformed by his presence. So that is not to be missed, and I'm super excited about that. At the end of today, I'm going to talk about how to make it through pollen season and through spring without being miserable. And so it has a lot to do with what I'm diffusing today. It's lemon, lavender, and peppermint from Young Living. So it has absolutely made spring a delight for me. And so I'll describe that later after class.
No, it's made spring a delight for me.
Oh, why is that?
Well, any of you out there live with somebody who's got severe seasonal allergies? Then you're on my side.
Yeah. Okay, well, it really has a lot to do with sowing, because a flower will remain a flower until it's pollinated. And the pollen is kind of the father of the seeds. And so the pollen is important, and although it can be really annoying. Anyway, that is amazing to me how much this has transformed my life, and I wanted to share that with you at the end of today's class. So when we're sowing seeds, the thing that happens in nature is that all of the seeds come out in fall, and the plants drop their seeds as quickly as possible so they can be covered by soil and protected during the cold winter. And so they go through two processes that don't happen for us when we try to do them as in a mechanical way. They are stratified with the cold and the moisture and the heat and the moisture and the cold and the heat. And you know how winter is. It can be really hot or not hot, but warm up, and then it gets cold and then it freezes. All of that is called stratification. So stratification is something that we can mimic by taking the seeds and putting them like in the freezer. I would first put them in a paper towel that has been moistened, and then put that inside of the seeds folded over, and then put that paper towel in a paper plastic bag in the freezer, and then take it out and then put it back in. And that's just a little a reminder. It's hard to remember to do that. So it's nice to let nature do it itself. And because we're dealing with wild edible plants, we don't necessarily have to propagate or cultivate these things because they grow like weeds, right? These are all weeds. Okay, so then the other thing, so we talked about stratification, is scarification. And this has everything to do with the seed coat. Sometimes the seeds are thicker and they have a really hard coating, and they need a little help to get germinating and out of that quiescence stage that we talked about last week. Sometimes a seed can stay dormant for thousands of years until it has the right conditions. So today we're going to talk about what are those right conditions, and we're going to talk about how do we do scarification if we have the seeds inside, like I've collected so many seeds? And so I've kind of learned from that from now on, what I'm going to do is put the seeds out in the fall so it can go through all of that stratification and all of that scarification process. And all scarification is just nicking or breaking the seed coat so that the little embryo can begin its growth. And that happens in nature when deer step with their hooves on the seeds, or just with the wear and tear of winter. But what we can do is we can actually take sandpaper, or we can soak them in water, or we can, there's lots of different things. And you can just look that up, Google it, on how you can scarify the seeds that have a hard coating. So if you're wondering which seeds need a little extra help, it's the ones that have a thick outer coating. It might be a good candidate for stratification. For instance, nasturtium seeds are really thick. They have like a wood-like shell, and so those really do help. If you just kind of nick them a little bit, or you can use sandpaper, or just use fingernail clippers to just clip the end of it, just so that it can help them. All right, another thing that's important is just soaking the seeds. And so, and keeping them moist. So the conditions that you need are warmth. And so I've been dealing with a lot of seeds lately, and I didn't do that. I kept them on the windowsill, and so they were freezing outside, and so it would be cold at night, and they didn't germinate as quickly as I hoped they would. So as I did more research, I realized they need the warmth first, and then after they sprout, and that little radical root goes down, and then the sprout goes up towards the sun, they need light. That's when they need the light. So they need the warmth first. So that was kind of an eye-opener for me. I'm not a gardener. I am a forager. And so I'm learning these things. And so you could probably all teach me so much more than I know. And I recommend Brendan Riordan, a friend of mine, who does gardening and homesteading. And so he does that as a consultant, on a consultant basis. He's very reasonable, and he will help you get a green thumb. I've decided this year I am not growing a garden. I'm actually going to grow a wild food garden. So all the plants that I have here, I have a plethora of them on my land, but I'm going to plant them where I want them and make like a wild food planting walk, just like my mentor Linda Runyon did. So I'm excited about that. So just one more thing, Brendan is doing a workshop this Saturday at the Hannafins house on what to plant before Mother's Day and how to get your garden going. So I don't think you're going to want to miss that. It'll be awesome. And let me share with you some of the ways in which I have been stratifying and scarifying or whatever my seeds, and what I'm doing to sow them. So here's these are little biodegradable pots, and the soil matters, and so I don't use soil from my yard because there could be dis-ease in there. So what I did is I bought some seed potting soil and mixed it with some vermiculite so it could have that lightness. And then I took, I labeled them, which is amazing that I actually did that. And then what I did is I took some tea bags. These are lavender, and I'm hoping to have lots of lavender in a certain spot near my sit spot this summer and continually, because they are perennials. Oh, by the way, perennials are the ones that need to be scarified, not annuals very often. So I took a tea bag and I slid it open and I put lavender seeds inside. And so now I'm going to take a fork and I'm going to I've already got the soil moist, because you've got to keep it moist, especially once they've started to sprout and germinate. So I'm going to put that little tea bag in there with the seeds. Cover it with a little bit of soil. The seed depth really matters. So if you've got like a tiny seed, like a lavender seed, you don't really want to cover it very much. And then I think it's extremely important that you just use a mister spray instead of pouring with water, because you could literally dislodge little seeds that are trying to root or trying to germinate. So it's important to keep it moist, but do it in a gentle way. So let's see, I'll put one more lavender in. And I forgot to bring one in, but remember when we did those winter seed sowing projects with the milk jugs outside? that was amazing, because what you did there is you had like almost a greenhouse effect. Well, it was a greenhouse effect. And so it gave you the warmth of the sun, and it kept the moisture in because they were closed. And then you could look in and just wait and see if anything's growing. And I waited and waited and waited, and something just started growing this yesterday. So next week I'll bring those in and show you how well they're doing. And I'm so excited about that. So I'll go ahead and finish these later. But Jace, if you could just kind of hold that up so people can see.
So are these, you said, a variety that you've labeled?
Yeah, so I've got like violet.
Turn them around a little bit.
Sure, I have violet seeds that I'm doing.
Yeah, little popsicle sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that matters. And also, I forgot to tell you that the ones I did, those milk jars outside, I forgot to, those that I did not cover with packing tape, let's put them over there. Okay. Those that I did not cover with packing tape, they actually wore off what it is that I've got growing in there. So I'm actually going to have to figure out what it is when the leaves come up. So it matters that you label it in a way that is permanent so you can remember. Okay, I'm going to do another demo of seed sowing really quick, but I want to share with you my journal entry. I hope you all are keeping your nature journals. So I was sitting out in the sun, and I've got my sit spot. I've been clearing it up and cleaning it up and planting lots of bulbs and seeds. And because I want to really have nature near me and watch it. And so if I can have it where I sit every day, spending time with the Lord, then I can actually watch nature's wave unfolding in front of my eyes. So I wrote this the other day because the sun was just beaming down. I said, God's sunlight is shining through. There is no place that His light does not touch. Even on a cloudy day, the sun is there behind the clouds. Everything His light touches is changed. I'm going to always keep watching, and I will see, for sure, transformation all around me. God's rhythms are unchanged. I will continue to soak Him in like a sponge from the outside in, absorbing His life from the life all around me. I will open my eyes and see life in the seeds that are beginning to sprout, and I will enjoy drinking in His life. And so I was just focusing and thinking about seeds and how I'm a kind of a seed. And as I soak in His love and in His nature and His creation, then whatever He has inside of me will definitely sprout. And that goes for you too. But because I was thinking of sponges, I thought I would get a sponge. And so you're a sponge, I'm a sponge. And here is a sponge. And I'm taking a pair of scissors and just cutting a couple of slits in them like this. And then I'm going to put it in a bowl, which I forgot to bring over. Let's see, I'll just put it on a plate. And I'm going to put the seeds in first. So, like I said, I'm really obsessed with lavender right now, and so I bought some lavender seeds, and I'm just going to put a few of them inside of that little tiny slit. There's all kinds of fun ways to grow seeds. That was too many of them. Okay, but and if you just Google them on YouTube, you would not believe all the fun ways there are to grow them. So now I've got them in the sponge, but what's missing is the water. So let's soak the sponge. And I'm going to keep this in a warm place until it begins to sprout, and then it needs to go in the light. Okay. So I think I'll have some tea before we go into the next section. So many plants to talk about. We're going to make a wild salad today, and I'm going to teach you some of my secrets on how to make a tasty wild salad. Otherwise, it could just taste like grass.
I can remember grass salad. That was...
Well, actually, you know, it all has to do with disguising. Because it all has to do with preparation. So, like, if you just, yeah, here. What do you think? Oh, come on over here and say hi. This is my son, Jordan.
Demo?
Yeah, on-screen demo. Oh, did you want some honey on it, though?
I probably should put some honey in it.
Well, why don't you take a sip without the honey first?
I'll try without honey first. This is our Folgers coffee ad.
Okay, see if this is better.
I had a realization this morning. Can I share it with your audience?
Sure.
So, Teaching Tuesdays here on Wild Blessings is Mr. Rogers' neighborhood for nature. So you're part of something very special, and it can only grow from here. Just like plants.
Oh, my word.
All right,
Okay, so tell me what you think of that.
Give us a whirl, as they say. It's excellent and healthy. My heart feels rejuvenated. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just, Jordan surprised me by coming home this week, and he has this really cool drone, and so he's going to use that in some of our video footage that I'm learning to use on iMovie, so that I can actually show you walking, hiking, my hiking habit from above, which would be really fun, I think. It's crazy to me how much he has just been all over this country. He's been, just in the last month, he's been in Washington, D.C., he's been in New York twice, he's been Colorado, he's been in Texas and Houston and Dallas and Austin. And after here, he's going to Florida. He's in film, so he keeps pretty busy. All right, let me see what I think. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's so good. It's just a happy spring flavor. Okay. Another demonstration I wanted to do before we get into identifying all of these spring plants and then making our salad is this particular plant we talked about last week is Yellowdock. And look at all of these root hairs that have grown on the taproot since it's been sitting in this water for a week. Look at that.
Oh, look at those roots. Yeah.
Oh, stop. Okay, so this plant, here's the little sprout right here, is very demulcent, which means it's extremely slippery and moist. And so this part in particular, right here, this little sprout, is a really tasty part. So those are really good to eat. But today what we're going to do, and I promised you this last week, is we're going to take the root and chop it up and put it into a decoction. And remember, this is an infusion. This is just a tea, a strong tea. If you leave it for 3 or 4 hours, it's an infusion. And here's a knife. But a decoction is, you could not put roots inside of a tea like this to steep and get very far. You need to break up the cell walls. So I'm going to break up these cell walls, pretty small. You can break them up in your food processor if you want, but I kind of like just the visceral feeling of cutting through Yellowdock. And it has a yellow root, which is why it's called Yellowdock. Rumex crispus is the botanical name. Somebody asked me this week, how is it different from burdock or from curly dock? Look how yellow those are. Those are so cool. Oh, it has such a great spring smell. Dock means big leaf. So burdock and yellowdock both have large leaves, depending on what time of the life cycle it is. But Yellowdock has a red stripe down the midrib, which stands for iron. And so it has a very high iron content. And it's also an amazing, gentle laxative. It's an aperient. And so what's amazing about this is that if you were to take like iron supplements, they tend to have a constipating effect. But Yellowdock is a natural laxative, and it's probably the first one that I would recommend going to if you've got problems in that area, so that you can really help your body, your digestive tract, to work well on its own and not just be forced to work with harsh herbs or medications. So I really recommend that. So now I'm going to go get a pot, which I should have had sitting here, and fill it with some water. Okay, and just put the roots in. And then I'm just going to let them simmer until the water is about halved. And so maybe in about 20 minutes or so, I'll strain this off. The water will be very black, and that will be the liquid we use, or it's called a menstruum. So with that, I'm going to mix it with molasses. And this molasses was a gift His name's Hensel. Everybody in the high country knows him anyway. He's over in Sugar Grove. And we went to watch him. We didn't get there in time to help him, but he has sugar cane, and he cut them all down, and he boiled them into molasses. And so this molasses is fresh from last season. And so this is also high in iron and incredible for adrenals and for energy. So combining these together, the decoction, after I've decocted these roots with the molasses, is an amazing spring tonic. If you want to up it even more, you can put some tart cherry juice into that as well. And that will help if you have gout situations. It's probably one of the best things you can do for that. So let me get this cooking and I'll be right back. When you're making a spring salad, the reason why these are all such important things to be partaking of this time of year is because they are, all of the energy, it's all about energy, has been stored in the roots all winter long, waiting to pop up into the leaves. And so now the energy is going into the leaves. And pretty soon it'll be going into the buds and then into the flowers, etc. That's called nature's wave. So my favorite, and all of these are super high in minerals and vitamins and just insanely, our body needs those things. And the enzymes we talked about last week are right there in these plants. They're needed for our digestion. And so when you eat something as fresh as this, I mean, these are still growing because I've got all their roots inside of the water. So they're all growing. I'm going to be transplanting them. Anyway, they're all growing now. And so as you partake of them, you're literally eating live food, which is amazing. And they're super high in nutrients and vitamins and minerals, which our body needs. I mean, that is what causes that's what our cells need. We don't need to fill our stomachs as much as we need to feed our cells. And so this can do both. And if you follow me as we cook together and as we go through nature's wave, I'll teach you how to make things tasty as well as edible. All right, so the Yellowdock, the root we talked about, is really excellent for making medicine from. You can make vinegar with the root, infusing it, or just make a decoction. I've never really enjoyed eating the root, although it is edible. So just saying, being honest. All right, now the leaf is very bitter, but bitter is good. It's good for our livers. And so I'm going to move this in front of me so that I can add it to it. But I just wanted to show you, I've already mixed up some of them together. This is the Yellowdock leaves right here. And this is some dandelion leaf right there. And this is some chickweed, Stellaria media. And here's some parsley, just because I wanted to add that to my salad dressing. This is purple dead nettle. And it has these cute little flowers and kind of a skunky smell, but it's really delicious and good for you. And then the red clover is also good. And then remember we talked about the bitter cress last week? These little saliques are filled with seeds, and as they turn brown, they just kind of fly everywhere. So I've been literally getting rid of them in places I don't want them, because once they dry and you try to remove them, then you're just propagating more. So anyway, there's that. Jace will take it up close. And so as I was out and about yesterday preparing for class and foraging, I was floored at the things that have come up since last week. So maybe I should just stand here over in front of there so that, or here, you want to show that one? This one is Oxalis. This is wood sorrel. And so yummy. I would not recommend eating too much of that raw because it has a high oxalic acid content in it, which can be hurtful to kidneys if you've got kidney issues. But if you cook it, it completely eliminates those crystals, or if you dry it. Or just eat a little bit of it because it's really good for you in a lot of other ways as well. And this is what we just had St. Patty's Day. This is what St. Patty's Day, or St. Patrick, used to teach about the Trinity, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, because there's 3 little tiny leaflets on each leaf. And it has these beautiful yellow flowers, and there's this, I've given a whole hour talk on this plant. There's a lot to say, which I won't get into other than to say it is edible, it's delicious, it's lemony, it's very delicate, it's amazing. So I'm going to give it a haircut because I'm going to be planting this. So one of the things I like to do is keep my scissors with me. So I'm going to so I take my scissors and just cut it up really small, like that. So that'll be good. And I'm like, after I'm done with class, I'll be doing this to more than this because I need to feed my family for lunch. Let's see, what else? So that's the oxalis or the wood sorrel. This one is the purple dead nettle. And these are the flowers. Jason, take one of the flowers over. The flowers are purple, and they have kind of this really unusual shape of the way the leaves come down over like a hood or something. And these are not my favorites, but they're so good for you and so high in minerals that it's like, well, whatever. So the key to cooking with these is just, same thing I just did with the oxalis, is just to cut it up really small. And anything that's kind of woody or not meristematic, that's kind of holding up the rest of the plant, you want to get rid of that. It's just kind of common sense. All right, so this is the dead nettle, the purple dead nettle. And that's literally everywhere right now. Remember we talked about making sure that you don't eat daffodils, but because they remind me of spring, they're heralders of spring, I just have them here on my counter. Okay, this is, you want to hold that up? This is evening primrose, and you can see the white midrib. This is a biennial, which means it lives for 2 years. And so the first year it sets up a rosette like this, and then it goes into a very tall stalk and has these beautiful seed pods and seeds, and they're very high in omega-3s, or is it omega-6s? I can't remember. But it's super good for you. And you see the white along the midrib there. These, I would not recommend eating these leaves. They're not as tasty as you would like them to be. What's tasty about this are their seed pods, or their flower buds, and their seed pods, the early seed pods. So, and also the root is kind of like a carrot, and that is very high in nutrition. I also just don't particularly care for it. So what I'll do with that root is I'll put it into bone broths or into stock so I can get the nutrition out of it without having to actually eat it. Okay, this one, okay, this is red clover. This is Trifolium pratense. And there as well, it has the 3 leaves on the leaf, 3 leaflets on one leaf, and it has a chevron, or that little white marking on each leaf. And these are really, really high in nutrition. And I hope that by now you've purchased Linda Runyon's book on Essential Wild Foods Survival Guide. But in there she talks about how she could eat like a half a cup of these leaves, and she could figure out just exactly, or just even one leaf, she could see just how long she gave her energy, because these are also really high in nutrition and really delicious. So for my salad, I'm going to, see, I've got some there. I'm just going to cut off a few more. This is not working, and this is not a good setup. Oh well. Okay. So when I go to make this into a salad, I'll move these things away so I can show you how I do it. Okay. So, here's another one of the red clovers. I'll just put this over here. Okay. So this is garlic mustard. And garlic mustard is one of those invasives that's actually really destructive. It has a lot of good nutrition to it. It has a lot of medicine as well, and good flavor, and it's edible. But if you find it, dig it up by the root and get rid of it. Like any part that you don't eat, throw it into a bag and don't put it in your compost bin. The reason why is because it's so invasive that it will take up all the minerals and all of it'll destroy the natural habitat that's already there, especially with trees and the mycelium. So it's really important to, if you have this on your land, just get rid of it. But get rid of it in a way in which you can nourish yourself, because it's an amazing medicine and really good food, and it tastes like garlic. So I'm going to add these little garlic leaves to our salad. And so garlic mustard is everywhere. I don't have it on my land, So it's really important. Like when I first started doing all this stuff years ago, I was like, oh, I got to find that and transplant it to my land, whatever it is. And I was like, no, this is not one I want on my land. I want it to be a destination. And then whenever I find it, I always eradicate it where it's at. But it's wonderful to eat, and it's really tasty. So it's another garlic substitute. Okay, so that's that. And I'll move him away. Where else? What else do we have? Oh, okay, so remember we talked about the garlic mustard. Oh, this is the bitter crust. All mustards are edible. So see how these sleeks are turning brown, and they're not ready to explode yet, but I just find them so much fun. And I remember one time walking through my garden when I didn't know any of this, and they were, my legs, I was wearing shorts, and the seeds, as you walked by them, were just like shooting up my shorts, and they were just hitting my legs, and they were just so much fun, and they make noise as they explode. So this is one of those seed dispersals that's kind of fun. Don't forget that they're still full of nutrients. So like I added some of the sleeks onto my salad because I want that pungent, a little bit of spicy mustardy taste as well. Okay, what else do we have? Oh, there's more garlic mustard. Was that even garlic mustard? What was I looking at? Yeah, that's garlic mustard. So the way you can tell, let me look at it and I'll explain what it looks like. It has, wow, I've got a lot of it here. I'll probably pickle some. Okay, it has kind of a heart shape leaf, which as it grows into its second year, gets more of a triangular shape. So it's more rounded as in its first year, which is this right now. And you can see its netting of its venation, kind of like a the palmate leaf pattern or venation. Very scalloped margins. And oh, I know I wanted to tell you about the bitter crust root is a good, here's the root, is a good horseradish substitute. So you can chop up this horse as if it were horseradish and use that in a horseradish recipe. So this is Marshmallow, Malva neglecta, and these are delicious. So if you find any of that, you want to get that and bring it to your land and get the whole root and just get it growing because it's such a gift and it's so delicious. And I'll never forget listening to Linda Runyon sharing with me how heartbroken she was during the Kuwait War when she was watching the news and there's these children that are starving to death, eating their dogs, but there right behind them are these huge patches of like 5 feet tall of marshmallow, which is unbelievable delicious, like super tasty, even just fresh. And they're really nutritious. So it's like, it just broke her heart that these people didn't even know what they had right there, free for the knowing and the picking. And so that was just a story I've never forgotten. So we'll add some marshmallow leaves to our salad. And do you see how that string right there, that's not, you just get rid of that. You just only add the nice and tasty tender stuff to your what you're cooking. Now, if you're cooking it like in a saute, it's okay to have some stringiness because you can just chop that up and it's fine. Or in the food processor, either way, it doesn't matter. Okay, so by the way, this is Linda's homestead tea kettle. I think she would be happy to know that Dandelion's sitting in it at the moment. But this I just saw today and I was so excited because this is probably my favorite of all time plant that's edible. The whole thing is edible. I make coffee out of the roots. I'm going to do a whole class on just dandelion because it has so much to be said about it. But it is an amazing gift to us, and what an incredible spring tonic. One of the things we're going to do in a couple of weeks from now, I'll do a video on, is how to make a wild smoothie out of these green leaves. And because that would be a really awesome way to get these nutrients into your body. Okay, what am I missing here? Oh, this is another type of a mustard, and I don't know what it's called, so if anybody knows, please tell me below, like Rachel, if you know what this is. But it's got that really fun cresting look to the leaf. They're a lot bigger than the bitter crust, so I'm not sure. Okay, and then this is the chickweed, which we'll also do an entire class on because there's so much to be said about it. But just even touching it is very cooling. It's a refrigerant herb, and it has the most amazing cooling textures to it. So, all right, so that looks great. What else am I missing to it? I'm going to add some of this mustard into it. I'll probably add this or Yellowdock. Okay, and then we'll talk about this one last. And we're not going to eat this, although it is edible. If I were to eat this, I would make that into tempura. Okay, so these are all clean and ready to go. So what I do is I just get a large knife, get everything kind of going in the same direction and piled up. And then you just cut it nice and short together like this. I'm making a salad dressing today with using dandelion blossom syrup for the sweetener. You want to have acid, so I'll use probably lemon juice since I have some fresh lemons. And then you're going to add the oil. So there's always the oil, you emulsify it in last. And then the seasonings, well, we'll do a whole class on just how to make different salad dressings. But today I'm going to do an Italian one with, let's see, my recipe is amazing. It is sun-dried tomatoes, 1 clove of garlic. So because you and I are wild edible peoples, instead of using a clove of garlic, we'll use the bulbs of a wild garlic, which we talked about 2 weeks ago. 1 tablespoon of honey. I'm going to use the dandelion blossom instead. 1 juice of lemon. I can use there sumac tea if I wish, or I can use, there's lots of different lemon substitutes, but we've talked about sumac, so I could definitely do that. A pinch of salt, and then 1/4 of a cup of olive oil, and a little water to thin it out. So that'll be a really yummy salad dressing. And then I can add to this, to make it a little more Mediterranean, a little bit of feta cheese, some Kalamata olives, some croutons if you wish, and it'll be really delicious. So I'll take a picture of this when Jordan eats it for his lunch. But let me tell you, I'll videotape him telling you what it tastes like and how energizing it is when he is able to have this for lunch today. It's so energizing. And you can honestly tell, I've had people come to my foraging, my feast, and after they've eaten, they say, I feel so alive and so energized. Well, it's because they just picked the food that they just fixed and ate. Okay, so it's all about chopping fine, making sure you don't have anything that's stringy or hard. Okay. So I wanted to share with you some more spring necessities. Let me talk about this one first. So these are called Coltsfoot, or the botanical name is Tussilaga farfara. And this one is really meaningful to me. So 7 years ago, I was outside walking with Jordan, and I was looking for what was growing, and we had just had a tragedy in our family, and I saw one of these flowers, and I just started crying because I remembered that the story of these flowers is the Indians called them son before father, and what had happened to us is we had just lost our son and our firstborn, and the reason why the Indians called them sun before flower is because the flower comes out before the leaves. So I saw these yesterday driving down 194, and so I came home and I said, Jordan, would you just get in the car and drive me so I can get out of the car and go dig these up? And so I'm going to plant them in my sit spot. So the leaf does come out after the flowers, and here's one of the little leaves, and they're very leathery and beautiful, and they get shaped larger like a coltsfoot, and that's why they're called coltsfoot. But they're in the Asteraceae family, so they turn to puff and they blow away, kind of like we experienced with our son. So I just I'm going to be sharing about how God comforted me during that time of losing our son. So it was just the most amazing story, and it was something that I've been wanting to share. So I will share that next week in class. So, oh my goodness. Okay. So, as I was hiking yesterday over at my friend's property, she gave me permission to go hiking on her land and foraging, and because I'm looking for cottonwood buds. If any of you have cottonwood trees, please let me come forage on your land. Anyway, I couldn't reach them because they were so high, but these are the things she had, and so it was really fascinating to me just to go on her property and to see what she said I could forage for and to see what she had. And she had a lot of pine trees, and we talked about pine for an hour a couple of weeks ago, so that was interesting. And then she had this, and I don't know what that is, so if any of you know what that is, I'm always wanting to learn more. And so Richard Boylan, if you're watching, tell me what that is. And then she had tons and tons of alder trees, and so here's what the alder tree branch looks like. And they have these little catkins on them. And I don't know anything about alders, so I can't wait to learn. I'm just like, yes, something new to learn. She had a lot of buckeyes, so I want you to keep your eye on these. If you have a buckeye in your hiking habit, then you need to definitely be keeping your eye out for it, because it's one of the most fascinating plants that, because they're the first ones to unfurl their leaves in the spring and the first ones to drop them in the fall. And out of that one leaf bud that looks like an arrow will come up to 45 leaves, which is astonishing to me. Okay, and then she has Tilia Europa, which is basswood or linden. And here, hand it back. The seed buds on these are absolutely insanely delicious. So it's my goal this year, I mean, this is so good, to get the early leaves. First of all, I wouldn't bother eating the buds. I mean, you can if you want, just to try it. But the buds turn into these really tender little leaves, and those leaves are so good in salads. And if you have an edible tree, then you've got a lot of food. So these are exciting. She also had a willow tree, which is also extremely exciting. My friend Ruby Trivet, she's gone on to be with the Lord. She had taken one of these branches, and when she was 4 years old, her daddy had her stick it in the ground in front of their house. And that tree is now, I don't know, 40 feet tall. I mean, it's just huge. And this one is next door to that. So this is not from Ruby's tree. But what's amazing about the willow plant is it has salicylic acid. Like, it's what aspirin used to be made out of. So Linda used to use this for her aspirin. And she said every 6 inches of it, you make into a little decoction. And drink that is like the equivalent of 1 aspirin. But what I like about willow is that it has this amazing rooting compound in it, rutinone, where you can just take this, cut it up really small, put some boiling water over it, and let it sit for 4 or 5 hours, and then put whatever it is you want to use, a cutting or propagate another plant from a cutting, into that liquid, and it will absolutely take off. So that's one of the reasons why all you have to do is just stick it in the ground to have a willow tree growing. Be very careful, though, because they are so thirsty and so overwhelmingly water hogs that if you have planted a willow near your well or your pipes or something, it will literally destroy your plumbing. So just saying. All right, so I'll probably do more of this later. I'm going to put this into a mason jar, add the hot water to it, boiling water to it, let it sit for 4 or 5 hours, and then I have something really special to show you next. And I have to share this because this has everything to do with spring. Oh, here's one more thing. This is red twig dogwood, and she had a ton of those. And so I want to learn how to make baskets and use those to make a beautiful red basket. So those are things that my friend had on her land, and she's so kind and generous to let me forage there. So always get permission, by the way, before you go tromping around on someone's property, because it's not yours. Okay, so this is what I'm excited about, and this is really important. If you don't have an elder tree on your, or 10 or 20 of them on your land, then get one. And I'm happy to share. I have a lot. I have never counted, probably 100. All right, so they're starting to, here Jace, can you show? They're starting to leaf out, so you're not too late. So this is kind of a little bit past due, but it still works. Do I have my, here they are, my pruning shears. So, whoa, I almost cooked down my Yellowdock. I'm going to put it here, so yeah, that's decocted perfectly. It's gotten nice and dark. Okay, so you can take these elderberry branches, and you can see that it has these opposite branching. See the little buds going out on either side. These leaflets will get huge. This tree is not just good medicine, but it's really good food. And I'll be teaching you as we ride nature's wave together how to make funnel cakes out of the flowers, how to make elderflower cordial, how to make elderberry wine. The berries are so good for making syrups. They're so high and they're antiviral. They make your cells slippery, so it's hard for germs to hang on. And so that's one reason why people love making elderberry syrup. There's a lot of studies being done on this, and we'll do a whole class on elder tree, Sambucus canadensis or nigra. I think this is canadensis. All right, so I'm going to cut. We'll start at the bottom. Everywhere you see a node like this is going to be a place where it roots. So I'm going to cut right here. And I'll be putting this into my willow water. Let's take the Yellowdock out of here for now. And I'll put that in there just to have a place. And you want to make sure you put the root side down. And the way you're going to know what's going to root is the little buds go up. So that's one way, or you could just do it with your clippers. So for example, I'm going to cut there. And I'm going to make this at an angle at the bottom. So the bottoms will always have the angle, and so the top will be flat. And then this one here, I'm going to cut there. And cut the angle at the bottom like I just told you. And there's some really good, it's really so simple, it's ridiculous. But I watched a bunch of videos on how to do this last night. There's a lot of information on YouTube. Okay. So I will go through and do the rest of these. If anybody wants these, you're welcome to them if you're local. So when I'm done, this whole thing will be filled with little cuttings. All you do with them is you just literally stick them in the ground. So I'm going to let them soak. I'm going to make the willow infusion, and then I'm going to let them soak for probably a day, and then I'm going to put them into the ground where I want them. And I'm actually going to, I know I've got lots of them here and there and right behind my house, but I want them all along the road as well. So I'm going to be planting lots of these, and this is a good time to do it. All right, so elders are kind of this is the time to do that. So if you know where there is an elderberry tree, it could be like along the river or something, just get yourself a branch, and out of one branch you can get, you saw me get 5 cuttings out of just one branch. So that's pretty exciting. Talked about how we can sow their seeds and how to get them out of quiescence and out of dormancy with stratification or scarification, and making sure they have the warmth and the right soil moisture. So keeping them, once they've started to germinate, you must keep those seeds wet. So I'll show you next week how my seeds are coming along, and I'm going to do that, making sure that they're taken care of. And I'll bring in my water jugs and show you what's happening inside of them as well. And I enjoy so much doing this with you all on Tuesdays. I just love it when you all comment. I love it when you share your poems. And this week, I really need you to share your poems. And we're going to be finishing up our seeds talk. And so if you could make your poem about seeds, that would be amazing. You can include rhythms and the things we've learned about that as well. Wild blessings to you, and enjoy spring as it's springing at your feet. Blessings. Bye-bye.